if you live in the East Bay service area, I could bring up your address, I could show you how your pipe is. You know, we probably don't have time for that right now, but we plan, we select what we're gonna design, what we're gonna replace. And then on top of that, in terms of the innovation, we're always looking for new materials that are hazard resilient, that are gonna withstand that big earthquake that we're gonna have.
And we have radioactive materials license for that, and radiation safety officers here in this building to maintain those licenses to do that work in the field. They also collect some of the samples in the field and bring them back, and I'll show you some of the rooms that they do the soils testing on. But since we're right here, maybe we'll talk about some of the equipment that they, when they're in the field, in addition to doing those tests, they'll also go out to the dam and look at our instrumentation. So each of our dams has instrumentation that indicates the level of water in the soil in the dam. And there's also some other instruments that are used to indicate if there's soil movement, and they're very fine sifts. And so what we'll do is we load soil, a known amount of soil, into a larger aperture material here, a larger aperture screen here, and then shake the material and then weigh how much is in each of the bins. And the shaking equipment is in here. Interesting enough, but it's a device where we take the stack, load it up, shake it, and then reweigh the material when it's done. Understanding the gradation is important, just as it is with density, for a variety of reasons. But if there's a variety of size of soil, you can imagine that there are fewer gaps in between pieces of soil, and you can increase the density that way.
And see if it was a known quantity that we ran.
These are the new meters that you test?
Yes, these are the new meters that we're testing.
Samples.
Correct.
How often do you do it? I mean, who makes the meters?
These are Badger meters. We go through about 15 to 18,000 meters a year.
Wow.
And so we get them in batches of 3,000. We'll sample out of that. This shipment of 1.5 inches is it's 3 more pallets, and we'll go through about 3 or 4 of those shipments in a year. We'll test every one in this batch.
Most of the leaks that we get are called in by the public. But for some smaller leaks, we have anodes on different, or nodes on different hydrants, different systems that send frequencies through the main to listen for water escaping. Yeah.
So with the leaks, how do you measure, or can you measure how much water was lost in the leak?
So it's not an exact science, but what we try to do is when we see something rolling down the curb, we try to imagine a 5-gallon bucket. How quickly do you think that 5-gallon bucket would fill up? So then when you see if you estimate it would take 20 seconds for that 5-gallon bucket to fill up, something like that, so you estimate it's
Fabricating skills, so they do a lot of fabrication in-house here too. We've got a fabricating bay over here. All of the diesel trucks use renewable diesel. The district's headed towards renewable gasoline in the near future. But more importantly than that, we're making a transition to electric vehicles. So that's quite the transition.